Hey you guys, what's up? This is Megan from the Overcoming Food Addictions team again. And today I want to share a bit of a confession with you. So I am addicted to sugar. And when I let it, it completely ruins me. And the one thing I want to make very clear is that it's not all sugar I'm addicted to, it's processed sugar. This is something I think is very important to point out, and I'm sure you'll hear me say it several times in the coming videos, that when we talk about food addiction, what we're usually talking about is an addiction to food-like products. I'm gonna go more into this in my next video, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Did you know that processed sugar has been shown to be at least 8 times more addictive than cocaine? Like, seriously. There have actually been studies done that show that when cocaine-addicted rats were given the choice between cocaine and processed sugar, 94% of them chose the sugar. It seems kind of crazy then, doesn't it, that the majority of the foods we have available to us are full of processed sugar, and it's so addictive. This stuff causes so much disease, contributes profoundly to obesity, which has killed hundreds of thousands of people, and yet it isn't illegal? Of course not. The side effects aren't immediate, and they don't cause inhibition. Since food is something we need to survive, it provides the food and beverage industry a perfect vehicle to disguise addictive properties that will cause us to reach for more. These added properties make food taste better, cause a chemical reaction in our brain that keeps us wanting more, like cocaine does, and they're cheap to produce. They can't make food illegal, and all it takes is a little manipulation here and there to mask the problem of chemical processing when confronted. This means money for the big guys, weight issues, disease, mental and emotional illness, and death for us. So most of us don't even realize we're addicted, and we definitely don't realize what's going on behind the scenes in the food and beverage industry unless we do a lot of digging and educate ourselves, of course. You know, like we're doing here, so keep watching our videos, duh. So, on my own health journey, I have struggled tremendously with sugar addiction, like I said before. In the past, as someone who is obsessed with dieting and chasing the perfect body, my frustration with this was primarily due to the fact that sugar is the biggest caloric contributor to excess fat on the body. It took me a long time to start recognizing or even caring about the impact this addiction had on my overall ability to function. Now that I'm 10 months into binge eating and diet culture recovery, it is really the only thing I care about. But here's the thing, though I know processed sugar completely messes me up, I've been scared to cut it out of my diet because I've been worried that in telling myself I can't have something, I would fall back into diet mentality. So I've continued to eat it. I was scared of that word cut out, or the restriction idea. And since then, I've literally turned into a different person. Recovering from our poor relationships with food in our bodies is definitely work. And after years of learning the wrong way to behave around these things, it can almost feel like an alternate universe, learning how to actually eat and function normally. We have to learn to trust ourselves, learn how to listen to our bodies, and trust that what they are telling us is what is best. And as much as I would love to say I have this completely down, I am still working on it. This is very much a practice for everybody. So although in the past 10 months I've been receiving signals from my body to pay attention to the fact that I am literally almost incapable of functioning when I'm eating a lot of processed foods, I chose to ignore them because I thought working on my mindset was more important, which it is very important. And I didn't want to go back into focusing on the nutrition just yet. Mindset around this stuff is everything. And I truly believe that the very first place we need to work when learning to move away from dieting and developing a healthy relationship with food in our bodies is the mentality part, but it doesn't mean that we can completely ignore the food portion and how it's contributing to how we feel, especially when so much of the food we have available to us is more poisonous than it is nutritious. It gets messy sometimes for those of us especially trying to break the cycle of binge and restrict. we have to do so much work on our mentality to break that cycle. And in that space, the thought of cutting something out can be daunting and confusing. So we have to tread lightly, and honestly, this is where the help of a coach has benefited me greatly. And also changing my verbiage, like not saying restrict. So here's what happened to me in the past couple of months in consuming more processed foods than I would like to admit, and ignoring my body when it flags helped me. And I want to mention, and this is something I'm digging more into in my life, that I'm an empath. So I'm already very naturally sensitive to anxiety and depression. So in the past month and a half, I've developed chronic fatigue. I sleep about 9 hours a night and still feel so exhausted throughout the day that I have to nap or I'm just miserable. I have extreme brain fog. I have trouble focusing on anything. My hormones have been completely nuts. I've always had a hormone imbalance as well, and they've just been crazy. My moods have been fluctuating rapidly throughout the day. I have nosedived into severe depressive states where I spend the whole day in bed crying. I've been having trouble feeling inspired or motivated to do anything. I've been having anxiety attacks that I haven't experienced for years, probably 7 years. I haven't experienced anxiety like I have in the past month and a half. I've retreated into my shell, and the thought of leaving it has made me freak out a little bit. So normally something like this would be diagnosed by a doctor and treated with prescription drugs, right? Yeah, so I've been there, nothing works. In fact, it makes it worse for me. And honestly, I believe that treating someone who has depression or anxiety with a pharmaceutical is bullshit, because it isn't actually treating the issue, it's just treating the symptom, because that's easier, and these solutions are backed by the government and therefore likely to be covered by insurance, so less expensive for us. So here again is what's going on with me, and I wanted to bring this to your attention today because I think this information can be of use to a lot of people who struggle with these kinds of mental things. The sugar is creating so much of an imbalance in my body, it's literally contributing to mental illness. I know this because I know my body, and despite the fact that yes, I did used to cut out sugar primarily for weight loss, I also recognize that it helped my mood and overall capability to function. So I still know there are places in my life that I need to relinquish control. I still need to work on my mindset. That will all help, but it's hard to work on the heavier stuff when what you're putting into your body is creating a space that doesn't support that energy. So after a couple of very random spells of anxiety the last couple of mornings, I realized I just could no longer stand the feeling of, I could no longer feel the way that I felt anymore. I couldn't stand it anymore. So I decided to eliminate processed sugar from my diet completely until I feel like I'm able to control myself around it again. So again, if you feel like you've been stuck in an ongoing battle with depression or anxiety or fluctuating moods and you haven't looked at what you're eating, I would highly suggest it. At least be aware of the effects processed sugar has on our bodies, and open your mind up to the good possibility that if you consume a lot of processed foods, it might be contributing largely to your symptoms. It's been a couple of days since I eliminated the processed sugar from my diet, and I already feel so much better. I have more energy. Like I said, there's still stuff in the mental realm, in the emotional and spiritual realm that I have to work on, but I know the processed sugar, again, doesn't create that space to support what I'm trying to do for my mental and emotional and spiritual health. So I will let you know how it's going. I will continue to create these videos. Make sure, again, that you like and share this video if you feel like it helped you, and also subscribe to our channel. I'm going to go more into sugar and the addictive properties of processed foods in my next video, so definitely check that out. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Bye!